We officially have a bow on the 2021 college football season. That is right. Last night, the Georgia Bulldogs defeated the Alabama Crimson Tide to wrap up the 2021 college football season. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the North to South Show presented by Touchdowns to Home Runs. I know it has been forever, and I mean forever. I think it was the weekend of October 9th, something. It was way back in October since I've come out with a video. I really wanted to focus on my first semester of university, and doing that in YouTube, really just moving to a new country, first of all, was a massive difference that I had to get equipped to the university life and still do well in school and everything like that. So I took a bit of a break. I thank you guys for still being here. I've got comments from many of you guys asking, when's the content coming back? Like, what's going on and everything like that. So I really appreciate you guys still caring. And I said that I was going to come back. I'm really going to try to get back into the swing of things on YouTube in semester 2. So here we go. What we're going to talk about today is really the resurgence of college football in 2021, because we look back at what we had in 2020, the COVID season, the shortened schedule, the conference-only schedule, fans, no fans or limited fans in stadiums. Like, it was not what college football is used to, and it wasn't the college football that we all know and love. Now, it was still good. I'm not complaining that we got a 2021 season or 2020 season, because that was a season that looked like it may not happen at all. So I'm still very grateful that we had that season, but you felt like we really needed something special in 2021, and I think that's what we got. And that's what I'm going to go over today. I have certain topics that I want to touch on where I think college football did some growing. As much as it seems like we've done some stepping back, if you look back compared to how college football was in 2005 or 2010 or something like that, yes, we've taken some steps back, but from what we went to in 2020, I feel like we've taken some steps forward going into this 2021 season. So I want to touch on some of those topics. So first, I want to flash you back to, let's say, July of 2021. Now, if you remember that month, NIL had just become a thing for about a month then. I'm pretty sure it got officially legalized in July. It was either June or July. So the whole NIL thing and everything like that was something that a lot of people thought was going to take over college football and be something that dramatically changes the game. And so far in our first season with NIL, we haven't really seen that. Like, it's been there. We've seen guys sign big deals and everything like that, but it hasn't been the most prominent thing of the season. And I think that shocked a lot of people. And I think that that was a really good shock for a lot of people, saying that, oh, these recruits aren't making their decisions based on money. They're not making their decisions based on wherever they could get the best NIL deals. Players aren't really going and doing all this for money. They're skipping practice and stuff and like that to get NIL deals. So I think the overall NIL situation has been handled very well by most of the NCAA teams and overall the NCAA as a whole. So I think the NIL thing, from what we thought it was going to be in July, now looking past, now that we're looking ahead to the 2022 season and past the 2021 season, I think that the NIL situation has evened out, and it's really gone a lot better than what we thought it was going to be. So that was the first thing that I wanted to touch on. That was a positive for the 2021 season from what we saw before going into the 2021 season. Another thing, I take you back to that July month for another reason, because that was the month that it was announced that Texas and Oklahoma would be joining the SEC. Now, that blew up the college football world. The rise of super conferences looked like it was going to happen. Everyone was scrambling to find a conference, it seemed. Everyone was leaving conferences, or not officially leaving, but there were so many rumors of like, oh, all the Big 12 teams are going to disperse. These guys are going to the Big 10. These guys are going to the Pac-12. Some AAC teams are going to the Big 12, and all stuff like this. Just complete chaos was going on. And it looked like Oklahoma and Texas were going to be atop of the Big 12 this season and really dominate them. And it was just going to be, the Big 12 was going to be absolutely diminished after this season. I think it was a really good showing for the Big 12 that when you look at that Big 12 championship and you look at the two teams that were on the field in that game, no Oklahoma, no Texas, and even add this on, because at the beginning of the season, now this isn't a team that has the same money as Texas and Oklahoma, but at the beginning of the season, this was an AP top 10 team. Iowa State, those three top teams that everyone was saying, these guys are going to run the Big 12 this season, none of them were in the Big 12 championship game. Who did we have? We had Baylor and we had Oklahoma State. Two teams that came out of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but from what people thought they were going to do to what they did do, Baylor won a New Year's Six Bowl this year. They just won the Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss, who was a pretty damn good football team. Oklahoma State came down to the wire against Baylor in that game. That was one of the best games that we had of all conference championship weekend. I feel like the Big 12 championship is always super underrated. It's always the noon game. Everyone's just looking forward to the SEC championship game. But I look back at some games like, what was it, 2019 Baylor and Oklahoma. That game went to overtime. We've had some really, really good Big 12 championship games in the past. So that's another thing that I thought was a huge positive for college football as a whole this season. The Big 12, when it looked like it was about to be diminished and Texas and Oklahoma were ruling everything over there, you have Dave Aranda taking over at Baylor and taking them to the moon, or almost the moon. The Sugar Bowl is still somewhere that is showing tremendous progress for that Baylor program. And then Mike Gundy finally beating Oklahoma and finally getting to the Big 12 championship. Huge, huge, huge progress for both of those teams. So I think the main thing that was best for college football this season, if we're going to talk about good things that happened, let's talk about the college football playoff, because before the season, all the talk was, we need to expand to get more teams in, new teams in, group of 5 teams in, and all this kind of stuff. We got that this season. We got 2 new teams in, and I even consider, yes, Georgia has been in the college football playoff before. Yes, they have made a national championship, but they haven't won a national championship. And I think that differs from, let's say, Ohio State gets in instead of Georgia. Like, Ohio State actually is able to complete their season. They're able to beat Michigan. They make the playoff, and they go on to win the national championship. Georgia winning is different and better for the sport, in my opinion, than, let's say, Ohio State or Clemson or Alabama winning, because Georgia is a new national champion, and they are a team that hasn't won in over 40 years. So seeing a big program like that, a program that has been scratching and clawing to get a national championship for some time now, to see them finally get what they deserve, I think is good for the sport. And it's a good showing that you can beat Alabama, you can beat all these super teams, you can beat Ohio State, you can beat Clemson and all that. Because I'm telling you, if we saw Alabama win this season, how does that look for recruits? How does that look for opposing coaches? How does that look for everyone really in the sport? Can you really compete with Alabama? If Georgia, this was their season to beat Alabama, if they weren't able to do it, it just seems like Alabama's unbeatable at that point. So I think that that's good for the sport that we had a new national champion and 2 new teams in the college football playoff. We'll talk about Michigan first, because Michigan was a team that wasn't even ranked in the AP Top 25. They come in this season. Jim Harbaugh has an absolutely scorching seat. He is sitting on hot fire, hot coal, hot lava, whatever you want to call it, after last season that he had at Michigan during the pandemic. Comes in and finally beats Ohio State. Yes, they do lose to Michigan State, but they beat Ohio State. They make the Big Ten championship, and they win the Big Ten championship and find themselves at the number 2 spot in the college football playoff. Obviously, you know what happened in the Orange Bowl. They had to go up against Georgia, and Georgia was an inferior team to them. So they beat Georgia, but seeing Michigan, the resurgence of, again, like I said with Georgia, these big-time programs that haven't been successful in a long time, I think that is really good for college football. Like getting Texas back into it, getting teams like USC, obviously with Lincoln Riley going there, seeing teams like Notre Dame has been in the playoffs, but they haven't really competed in the playoffs, seeing big-time programs like the ones I just named, Florida is another one, Texas A&M still hasn't been in, seeing these like big-time programs get back into the conversation for national championships is a huge, huge deal and a huge, huge point of growth for college football if we are able to get all of them and have more than just 2 teams, it seems, from the beginning of the season competing for a national championship. So Michigan looks like they're on the up and up. Great job by them. And then obviously the one that is the biggest is Cincinnati finally making the college football playoff. And it's not just Cincinnati finally making the college football playoff. It's the group of 5 finally making the college football playoff. Luke Fickell, Desmond Ridder, all the guys on that defense, what a job it was for them to get to the college football playoff. You knew that if you went undefeated with all that had happened with Clemson, with all that happened with Ohio State, with all that happened in the ACC, really, they just beat up on each other. The ACC really didn't look like they had a chance at a playoff spot. Same thing for the Big 12. It was looking like that for a long time. I mean, Oklahoma State, if they won their Big 12 championship, they probably could have squeaked in. But with everything that happened in the season, Cincinnati just went out and did their job. Won 12 games, went 12-0, won their conference championship, and beat Notre Dame in Notre Dame. They also beat Indiana in Indiana. They had some huge road games, some huge road wins, and we got a group of 5 team in the college football playoff. Now, everyone calling out for an expanded college football playoff, their main quotes here, point of argument, concern, sorry, that was the word I was looking for. Their main concern is that, group of 5 teams can't in and we're just can't get in and we're just going to have Power 5 monsters in every single season. If the cards fall in the right direction, or whatever metaphor you want to use, a group of 5 team can get in if they go undefeated. Again, it is not likely. I'm not saying every single season that we have an undefeated group of 5 team that they're going to get in, but there will be seasons where chaos is going to ensue, where you're going to have Clemson lose week 1. You're going to have Ohio State lose week 2, because those were some huge losses for both of those teams that affected them going through for the rest of the season. You're going to have years like that where these top tier teams that almost seem like college football playoff locks do lose. And then when you have that group of 5 team who's really ascending in their conference, going undefeated and has a big win against a Power 5 team, that win was Notre Dame for Cincinnati, you're going to be looking at that and you're going to be like, we have to put this group of 5 team in. So no, it is not impossible for a group of 5 team to make the college football playoff. That is another huge pro that 2021 showed us. And Cincinnati, if I want to talk about them for a bit, I honestly think they had the defense to be competitive in the college football playoff. The offense was not there, but Cincinnati wasn't getting absolutely destroyed defensively by Alabama. Alabama's offense wasn't going down the field easily, if you want to call it that. So I think Cincinnati had the defense to be something special. There was just some missing parts on offense. There was some missing rhythm and consistency on offense for them to actually go into that Cotton Bowl and be able to take down Alabama. So those were some of my huge positives coming out of this 2021 college football season, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Going to get some more great SEC content. Going to get some preseason stuff going on. Already looking towards 2022, because as good as this season was, we're only going up from here in college football. I feel like 2020 was one of the lowest points in college football. I feel like we're starting to trend up. So I think 2022 is going to be better than 2021. So guys, thank you for watching. Hit the like button down below. Hit the sub button. Subscribe. Thank you for watching. Comment anything down below, and definitely come back next time.